Okay, for our third question, we will begin with Mr. Robinson. Now that the revenues for the year just ended appear to be lower than anticipated, what will you do to adjust the 2010-2011 budget?
Thank you. Well, I think they're referring to something that was disclosed at the Finance Audit Committee yesterday, and I've just looked at a copy of this. Hasn't come to council yet, but you know, our tax revenues are off, although there are some technicalities that have to be looked at. There are a couple of large sales tax producers who have not apparently reported their sales tax properly. So nevertheless, we have our revenues, we know our revenues are down and sales taxes have slipped. And I think it is the single biggest challenge we have, which is why I've been focusing, particularly in the last 2 years, on our business development efforts west of El Camino. The question, though, is really what are we going to do in the short term? And I think it's important that we take a very, and as we have done, we have to take a very long-term measured view of this so that we don't make any drastic cuts that really hurt our services. We have not had people clamoring here before council saying, please cut this, please cut that. The biggest challenge facing our budget, to be honest with you, are our police salaries. Every other department is flat or going down. Police costs have gone up. We will have a chance to address that next summer when we renegotiate some of those costs. And I think some of the things that we've been talking about with reining in costs with our other unions will also come to bear with that. That said, I think we are going to have to, we will work with city management to look at places where we can continue to make additional cuts beyond the ones we've already made.
Thank you. Mr. Ohtaki.
Thank you. The revenue lower than anticipated is not something that surprises me. There are a couple of concerns that we've had, certainly at the fire district with our budget, and certainly I see with the city facing. The city's had, City of Menlo Park has now had 3 years where we've had a budget deficit. And obviously sales tax revenues have declined. And we have to be worried that about the future prospect of our sales tax revenues. But in addition, there are 2 other risks. One is CalPERS rate increases. The pension system is expected to increase our pension rates for safety from 35% to 46%, and on miscellaneous employees from 15% to 20%. That was in a staff report in September of 2009, and that would be raised over the next 4 to 5 years. Now, they'll probably extend that, but the fact of the matter is we have to really look at the increasing costs of those benefits. This council, when it raised pension benefits in 2007, it incurred a $6.3 million unfunded pension liability. And that's on top of what I believe is also a $7.4 million side fund in the safety employees, which is one of the reasons why we're paying 34%. Almost 40% of that is to pay down that $7.4 million over 12 years. If we can address those issues, we would be saving about $800,000 a year just on that one aspect. So we need to really restructure that to balance our budget and be prepared for the future increases of CalPERS and also if the state takes money from us. Thanks.
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, the practical matter here about balancing a budget is getting 2 other council members to go along with you on that. I mean, that's kind of the definition of progress in this situation. What I keep telling people is I don't have any sacred cows in this one. As Peter points out, and Heyward points out, the pensions are a liability for us. And my position is, you know, we gotta be in a better position. We can't plan to fail, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get there if we do. How you take care of that and how you tackle that, negotiations will be ongoing as we go forward. And we have the pension initiative to help take care of that for us long term, with some structural changes there. But in addressing the revenue shortfalls, I just really need everybody to understand I'm of the position that you don't do it if you can't pay for it. When I first started this, I got interviewed for the paper and introducing the candidates to the public, and I said I was a fiscal conservative. Apparently everybody else is too, so I think I need to put a little finer point to that. If you don't have it, you don't spend it. That's just, I don't see us going forward by doing that. Yes, there are some developments or things that you can invest in, great, but just a general day-to-day run of the city, I think we have to keep things, in better fiscal control. And in doing that, like I say, I don't have any pet projects or non-pet projects. I would work to get 2 other council members to agree with me on something so we could keep the budget in line. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Keith.
Thank you. In looking at a couple of these issues, as far as trying to increase revenue, I do think it's important that we finish up this downtown El Camino Real specific plan, because part of El Camino Real is not really being utilized at this time. And if the leases on the Stanford property are up in 2012 and 2013, and if we have a plan in place that we can, the developers can use to figure out what they can do, I think that's very important, because that will encourage some sort of development on El Camino and hopefully get rid of some of the blight that we have there. I also think that we need to look at all areas. And one thing I would consider is an increase in the user utility tax only on gas, electricity, and water, which are limited resources. And I think it's could be beneficial on these issues because it would encourage efficiency of our limited resources. I know Palo Alto currently has a 5% user utility tax on those particular items, and ours is 1%. If I were looking at salaries of employees, I think I would prefer to lower salaries rather than lay off people. And also I think that we could use fewer outside consultants to do the work that we can do by utilizing our staff, and I think also utilizing our volunteers in the community. We have a wonderful community of amazingly intelligent people who love to be involved, and I think that we could utilize our community more.
Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Klein.
Thank you. Very good question. Good news is we got that data quickly. Got that data today because the Finance Audit Subcommittee was formed, and we created tools that allowed us to report numbers in real time. As good real time as city can be, which is like every few months. Before, we had 3 different points of time when we could see the numbers, and that was it. And the numbers would not be released right now. It would be an assumption by everybody in this room. And if we remember 4 years ago, we assumed wrong by a big number. So the fact that we have the ability now to pull it out in a question and a debate forum is a win. That's a big transparency win for the community. So that allows us to react to it. And I sat in that meeting with John Boyle, Jeff Child, Honor Huntington, and Stu Soffer. We are the Finance and Audit Subcommittee. And I think we all looked at the number and had the same reaction. Oh, it just got worse. My reaction is, okay, it got worse, and we looked at it when we set up the plan for this year. We tried to anticipate if there would be some flattening. They didn't flatten, they went down. So now we got to look at reductions. I think you've got to look at salaries, and you have to find a way to pull some of the salaries back, most likely. You may have to look at ways to find positions that are going to do the same job. Two different jobs at one, like we did for the community services director when we saved $50-something thousand on that position. Those are the things we're going to have to do right away. Because you asked for short-term fix, you didn't ask for the long-term fix. We'll probably get to that a million times. Short-term, those are 2 really quick. We're probably going to have to pull some projects off the block. Things that we've put money to are going to have to come off right away. I'm not going to give those to you right now because that's a headline in the paper tomorrow, and I'm only one council member, and I don't want to make promises here, but I do think there are 3 or 4 major projects we'd probably have to pull off and slow down. That would probably save us several $100,000 here and there, and then we'd have to look at other things. We may have to go deeper on the cuts. I'm not sure. But this is the second or third year. It's a trend, and no longer can we hope for a general uptick on that. By the same token, though, I agree with the colleagues here. You do have to get strategic on your long-term revenue. There are no long-term revenue plans right now for the city unless we get these done with this council. Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready for a new question, and Mr. Klein, you'll be first again.
I didn't get a chance on this one.
Oh,
Mr. Bernstein didn't go.
I'm sorry. Thank you. It's your turn.
With all due respect to the incumbents, I have to take issue with this notion that this is a new problem. I have a copy of the Almanac article dated July 29th that says drastic sales tax decline likely the result of error, Menlo Park finance director says. And it goes on to say that the expected $7 million in sales tax, it looks like it's going to be reduced to $5 million. I tried again last week to find out what the status of this so-called error was, and nobody knows. I'm very proud of my background in finance. I have an MBA from Stanford. I'm able to understand the numbers. But folks, this is common sense. Nobody sits around for 2 months wondering whether $2 million was a typo or not. If the finance director can't do it, then perhaps the council should. But somebody should simply pick up the phone and say, hey, did you make a mistake? And isn't it a coincidence that 2 companies would make exactly the same kind of mistake in the same month? Now, a cynic might say, this is a cover-up, but not wanting to be cynical, I'm suggesting that perhaps it's just pure incompetence or lack of attention or something, but nobody sits around for 2 months to find out whether we're 2 months short. Yesterday, we found out we were going to have a deficit from last year of $1.5 million. It could be worse. But this is not a one-time thing. This is the thing that's going to affect the budget for this year, too. Where are we going to find that extra $1.5 million or $2 million or however much the typo is? These are problems that need to be dealt with right now, and they're not being done. There's no good news here, folks. This is bad news. The place to start, I think, is to cut salaries. You've all read the salaries. They're inflated. That's the place I would start, and I think it needs to be done immediately. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.